Is it too late to plant in Texas? And what should you get in the ground right now? And what should you absolutely avoid? I stopped by Pollinatives here in the San Antonio area, one of the best native plant nurseries, I think, in Central Texas. I asked my friend Donald to break this all down. He walked me through exactly which plants thrive when planted in fall and winter, and which ones really struggle. So in this video, we're covering what you should plant now, what you shouldn't, and why fall and winter are actually the best time of year to plant in Texas. Let's start with the part most people don't realize, why planting right now gives you the highest success rate.
We recommend fall planting. We're mostly talking about trees and shrubs, woody species, although I think fall planting is good for any perennial herbaceous plant. It doesn't even have to be a woody plant. We're not in a northern climate. The soil here doesn't freeze. But as long as that soil stays above 50 degrees, which it typically does here year round, but the top maybe inch or so might get cold, but down beneath where the roots are, as long as it's above 50 degrees, even if your tree is going dormant and has no leaves on it, it can still be working on roots, and then that gives you the best time period. So you got fall, winter, spring for that plant to get roots established before the hot summer here, which is really kind of the hardest part of the season. They're used to going dormant in the wintertime anyway, so why not give them a long time to get the roots established before the hot part of the summer that's gonna really put stress on them.
So this is a big mindset shift for gardening in Texas, right? Our soil doesn't freeze and plants don't actually shut off, at least completely, in winter. Only the tops of the plants go dormant. So dormancy just means that the part of the plant that is above ground slows down to conserve energy. The leaves drop, as they are with this American persimmon native to Texas, but the stems stop growing, but the roots are still very active. As long as the soil stays above about 50 degrees, which it almost always does in Central Texas, the roots below ground keep growing all fall and winter. That's months of root development when nothing stressful is happening above ground. So a tree planted in fall gets fall, winter, and spring to establish itself before our brutal summers arrive. And so if you plant in late spring, you get maybe 8 to 10 weeks, that might even be generous, before hitting triple-digit heat. That's why fall and winter planting is really just smarter. Okay, so let's talk about what you can safely plant right now. There's a lot, way more than people actually assume. So here are the categories that my friend Donald recommends, and many of these plants I have put in the ground myself this very fall. Woody plants, your trees and shrubs, are the big winners this time of year. Their growth is driven by their root systems, and fall gives them the longest, safest window to settle in. So some fantastic choices for Central Texas include this Yaupon holly, Texas mountain laurel, possum haw holly, cousin to the yaupon, Texas kidneywood, desert willow, Texas redbud, and almost all your hill country hardwoods. Those are your classic native Texas trees that have a woody trunk, maybe lose their leaves in winter, and are built for the limestone soils that are typical of this region and certainly our long, dry seasons. Let's see what other foolproof, reliable plants Donald might recommend for us to put in the ground right now.
You got things like Turk's cap that are going to die back in the winter, and they're not going to come back from those stems. It's going to grow a new plant every single spring, but still all winter long it could be working on getting those roots into the ground. Even these perennial like herbaceous plants that might completely die back to the ground, like this Grid's mistflower, like sometimes in a mild winter it'll stay green all year. In the cold winter it might die back to the ground. Again, that's not going to kill the roots, and those roots, as long as the soil is decently, it's going to just keep rooting. And then in spring it'll come back even stronger than it was because it's worked on its roots all winter.
So these plants that Donald mentioned might look dead on top in winter, but underground they're quietly building a massive root system. That winter root growth is exactly why they explode and come back every spring. Some great root dominant perennials are the Turk's cap, Greg's mistflower, white mistflower, which had a great fall bloom season for us, autumn sage, Mealy blue sage. If you plant these now, even if they die back in a freeze, they'll come roaring back for you in spring.
All of our bulletproof, especially like beginner plants, anything salvia, almost all the salvia, the mist flowers, like this Greg's mist flower is the more herbaceous plant, or you have the white mist flower, the bone set, which is more of a woody shrub. Both of those are going to be great nectar sources for you.
So if you're brand new to Texas native plants and you want the easiest wins, these are the ones to start with. The autumn sage, Greg's mistflower, mealy blue sage, and Turk's cap, all things that we've already shown you, but they're incredibly drought tolerant, pollinator friendly, and they do establish beautifully in fall. These are the plants that you almost can't mess up.
The things I don't recommend planting in Texas in the fall are, they do all their growing in the summer. So that's going to be all your deserty looking plants, agaves, hesperaloe, yucca, sotal, anything cactusy. They really do all of their growth in the summertime. They like the heat.
These plants all have something in common. They're warm season growers. So some are truly desert adapted, like your agaves, your sotal, your yuccas, or your cactus. Or others might be more tropical or subtropical, like the non-native but adapted pride of Barbados, Mexican bird of paradise, or the South Texas native, your Texas ebony. But the key point is the same. Those plants only grow when the soil is warm. So if you plant them in fall or winter, their roots are really just gonna sit there, cold and inactive, which will make them much more vulnerable to freezing, developing root rot as moisture is slower to evaporate, and above all, if you put them in the ground, transplant shock. But with the species that we could and should plant, is there a cutoff?
A lot of people in my field, in the nursery business, we're busy in fall, so I don't have room or time to plant in my own garden until really it slows down, and that might be December or January. And I'm still planting even when it's super, super cold, because that's the time that I have free to do my planting. And those plants are perfectly fine. In fact, they're, when you're trying to keep a plant over winter in a pot, this pot is going to get cold. This whole soil mass is going to freeze if you leave it outdoors unprotected. So it's much safer in the ground than it is in this pot.
So is there a cutoff? Not really. Donald plants in December, I do too. Donald plants in January, I do too. And here's why that works. Plants in the ground, like this Carolina buckthorn here, which I got from my friend Donald, are protected by the soil around them. Soil has what's called thermal mass. It holds heat. Even when the air drops into the 20s, the soil just a few inches down stays much, much warmer. But a plant in a pot, that whole container can freeze solid. The cold hits from all sides, and those roots don't have any insulation. So, if you're trying to overwinter a plant, especially a tree or a hardy native perennial, you're almost always better off planting it than leaving it exposed in a pot. And just to give you a simple rule of thumb, if it's a central Texas native, like this Eve's necklace here, a cousin to the Texas mountain laurel, and it's not a subtropical, tropical species, you can plant it all winter long. The soil is almost always a safer place than a pot. But if you want to give those plants the best possible protection from freezes to keep your mind at ease, two things make a huge difference. A good layer of mulch, it's going to insulate the root zone and helps the soil hold heat even further than it already does. And as well, a deep watering before a freeze. Wet soil holds warmth far better than dry soil. Those two steps, mulch and one solid watering, will go a long way toward helping any hardy native get through the winter without stress. Before we wrap up, there is one important caveat. South Texas warm climate species. These plants evolved in much warmer winter climates than we have here in Central Texas. And young plants, like my Vasey's wild lime here, can be sensitive to our hard freezes.
The tree I wouldn't recommend would be a South Texas tree like this Texas ebony, perchance. This Texas ebony is going to be a South Texas tree. They really do all their growing in the summertime. I wouldn't fully recommend planting that in the fall.
So if you're in Central Texas and looking at plants that come from deep South Texas, like the Herbaceous wild lime, you want to be just a little bit more careful. These plants are fantastic in the right climate. They might even be fantastic in your Texas climate. But when they're young, they're especially sensitive to the freezes that we have further north than deep South Texas. So you can plant them in the fall, but make sure that you give them freeze protection their first winter. All right, y'all, that's all I have for you. Texas native plant landscaping doesn't have to feel overwhelming or like a big guessing game. Fall and winter really are the perfect window to plant. Low stress for the plants, and as a result, lower stress for you, because it's gonna give you a much higher success rate with the plants that you do put in the ground. But if you want more support as you get started with your Texas native plant landscaping journey, I built a free 7-day email series that walks you through the lessons I wish I had when I started landscaping myself. Everything from understanding microclimates to planting and designing for water, to choosing the plants that actually thrive together. So of course, it's Texas specific, based on real examples from right here in my San Antonio yard, and every lesson comes with a simple action step that you can take right away. The link is down in the description below, or you can go to coryames.com/txnative to sign up. It's totally free. And if you want another helpful guide to keep the momentum going, be sure to click right here. I'm Cory Ames, y'all. Thanks for being here, and happy planting.